Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Professor Oriaso Odongo, and my channel is Professor Oriaso Odongo's Knowledge Hub. Gentlemen, allow me today to talk to you about sustainable water resource management in the wake of climate change. Gentlemen and ladies, we have been talking about climate change and its impact on a number of things. Today, allow me to talk about the impact that climate change has on water resources and how we can surmount that. We know that climate change impacts water resources in a number of ways. Sometimes it alters water availability. It also changes water quality. It also deals with quite a lot of things which relate with water. Look at floods, look at drought, look at even melting of glaciers that we have talked about. Look at even the rising water levels. Now, when climate change relates with water, then we can talk about climate change being able to lead to unpredictable, variable water supplies. A case where sometimes even crops or even animals may not receive water in manners that they are thought about. Sometimes animals and plants and even everything that depend on water will go into competition because of that scarce resource. So we look at that. So then this affects ecosystems, affects agriculture, affects human populations. And how does climate change affect water availability, for example? We know that climate change exhibits itself in very high temperatures, and high temperatures are known to really increase evaporation. When this happens, we now have drought. Also, we can sometimes have climate change causing very high precipitation, very high rainfall, that is. When it does that, we have floods, and you know the impact that flood will have. Flood will affect agriculture negatively. They also even affect infrastructure systems that we are having. We will even have quite a great deal of effects on fresh water that we need for domestic and sometimes industry use. How does it affect quality? Look at quality. Look at quality degradation, for example. We now have clean water, non-clean water. We have sources of water being now unpredictable, and we cannot really help it. It also affects societal and ecological environment where we live in. Look at food security. When there is no water, we are going to have food in secure place. We're going to have conflict over the resources that we are having. We've had a lot of situations where people have had resource-based conflicts that we are having. We have a disruption in resources that are sustaining water. We have problems with indigenous communities that depend on water and even indigenous cultures. So what do we do because we have to contend with climate change? Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we have to just we just adopt what we call sustainable water resource use. What is it? When we talk about sustainable water resource use, what do we mean? We mean that we are able to manage water in a way that it meets the needs that we are having now. And we are also able to envisage it meeting the needs of families, needs of populations that will come in the future. Those are the things we are talking about. So water resource management, taking the sustainable management approach, would involve a lot of things. We look at the socio-economic and environmental considerations because a number of things affect water. And water is sourced from places that we know. We have lakes, oceans, ponds. We have ponds and even springs where we get water from, even boreholes, even dams. We have quite a lot of these. So water availability and access will depend on a great deal of those factors that we have been able to mention, some of which relate with access, availability, and even cost. And don't forget about climate change. Water is normally a very scarce resource everywhere. And we have been able to say previously that a great deal of our continent is water scarce because we have around 80% of it either arid or semi-arid, and quite a lot of things. So in ensuring that we have seamless availability and quality water, what do? We have to manage water as guided by a number of principles. The first one being conservation and efficiency. Is it possible that we can maximize the benefit of every drop of water so that we minimize waste? Is it possible that we can adopt that kind of system? Secondly, we look at prevention of pollution. A great deal of problems we have with water could be water pollution. Is it possible that we can safeguard our groundwater, our surface water? And what are some of the ways that we can deal with it? Is it possible that we can treat wastewater so that it continues to serve us without having to throw it away? These are things that we are calling, these are practices that we are calling sustainable water management. Water reuse and cycling. Is it possible that we can have a system where we are able to treat and repurpose water, particularly wastewater, grey water, and even storm water that we normally see, so that we can use it for irrigation, we use it for industrial purposes. We can even use it to flush our toilet. We can use it to address the various demands, even for agriculture. We talk about the fourth one being ecosystem protection. Is it possible that we can engage in systems where we protect and restore vital water sources? Look at wetlands, for example, rivers and lakes. What are we able to do so that we can safeguard them? Because safeguarding them is one of the ways by which we can have sustainable, clean, available water for us. Equitable access. We know that water is a human right for many people, many things that we have. So it is human right to have clean, safe, and affordable water for all. So how do we ensure that we distribute this commodity fairly, such that all users, all people, or all elements of the community, society will get it? Is it high time that we depend on integrated water management system, for example? We have an holistic approach that we coordinate all water, land, and resources that relate with it, with the main aim of trying to safeguard water resources because of the many things that surround them. We can do this for agriculture, for industry, for domestic use, so that all stakeholders are involved. We involve everyone else who consumes, those who produces, those who safeguard it, so that we can have water. We can also think about water partnerships. Is it possible that we can have a system where all water sector stakeholders are brought together? Because one way or another they help in the production, in conservation, in protection of water resources that we are having. So some of the strategies and practices that we will use, and then we are sure that we are going to have water to use today and even use them in the future. For example, in many different sectors. What about if you need water for agriculture? What are some of the strategies that you want to use to let the scarce water still be available for you in agriculture? We have talked about drip irrigation, where you take an approach where only small amount of water is used for your farming. What about precision irrigation or farming? Is it possible that we can adopt this new approach where we make good use of water, particularly to energize production, by simply putting water where it's highly needed, like channeling water to the roots of plants, such that no water is wasted through runoff, for example. In industry, we also need water. So how can we safeguard the scarce water resource so that we can still run our industries? We know that industries require a lot of water. We have water audits. Is it possible that we can put in place water audits which will assess our usage patterns so that we are able to only use water according to certain needs that we have? We have recycling systems. Is it possible that we can have advanced treatment? Is it possible that we can deploy technologies that can treat water, particularly wastewater? Then we can continue to use them to run our industries. What about domestic or municipal use? We can have, bring in water efficient fixtures, for example. Is it possible that we can install low flow toilets, for example, in our houses? Is it possible that we can have leak detection so that we are able to detect if water is leaking in some place. So we are able to deal with it, particularly on aging infrastructure. Is it possible that we can do aggressive water harvesting that can really help us? If we have to use water to landscape our environment, is it possible that we can use water-wise landscaping approaches that will enable us to still use water, but use water in manners that enable us to continue to have it? Is it high time that we deploy governance and technology in regulating water use? Is it possible that we can even bring in incentivization of conservation of water, for example, so that if you don't use a lot of water, if you conserve water, this is what we can give you for doing that? Deploying smart technology like water sensors. Is it possible that we can have this? We can even use internet, can even use AI to be able to do real-time monitoring of how we use our water. We can use renewable energy, for example, to do great things that will help us. Some of the ways by which we can conserve water and really deal with water that we know is very scarce could be a lot. In many countries, they adopt what we call comprehensive policy framework. Comprehensive policy framework, so that they are able to deal with all water matters. So what does that comprehensive water policy framework entail? You develop water infrastructure. You have to bring all water sector participants or stakeholders to be able to deal with water issues. In many parts of the world, water is a scarce commodity because we rarely can have 1,000 cubic meters, which is the basic requirement in any given place. Arid areas even suffer a great deal of water scarcity, and even water quality is one thing. If we continue to have unsustainable water use, it's bad for us. Is it possible that we can come up with policy and governance in the water sector, coming up with that kind of robust approach to really safeguarding our waterways? We have ways by which we can regulate, manage, and develop water resources that we have in our places so that they can continue to help us. Can we use modern technology in dealing with the water investment, for example, water recycling, dealing with all these things, conservation of water, particularly in the wake of climate change? Are we able to even protect water catchment areas? That can be very important for us to ensure sustainable water in our environment. Water towers that we are talking about. Can we develop and implement economic and social measures that will help us to deal with water problems? We know that there are a lot of challenges, particularly when it comes to sustainable water resource use, because water is largely unevenly distributed. You look at arid and semi-arid areas, look at highlands, and the water that they receive. So there's that kind of disparity. Climate also affects a great deal of water. Look at the drought and unprecedented rainfalls that we are receiving. So when climate change continues, then it exacerbates water problems that we have. We also have population and growth and even urbanization. The more we are increasing in numbers, the more we are having to build towns where people will live, the more we cut down trees and we will not have water towers. We also have problems with water pollution. The industrial effluents. Industries are coming up in many parts of the world or our countries, and they affect sustainable water resource use. We also have problems with the policy themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, today I was just talking about how we may sustainably make use of water resources that we have. And what I'm saying is that a great deal of the globe is what we can describe as water scarce. And as such, in the wake of climate change, water resources are heavily affected. We have been able to mention floods. We have been able to mention high temperatures and drought and how they affect water resources. And we have been able to talk about water quality, water supply, water access. We talk about all these things. And we have been able to say that if we are to continue business as usual, particularly when we are aware of climate change, we will have a lot of problems. So we got to adopt sustainable water resource use. And that takes us to the various sectors. In the agricultural sector, we know what we can do. We can engage drip irrigation, precision irrigation. In industries, we can engage a lot of water audits that can give us our pattern of water use. In domestic use, we know that we could be able to have certain social adjustments that will enable us to check and to conserve water resources. You can even come up with governance and technology issues that can help us to manage water, so that water, being a scarce resource, which is very valuable, may not go to waste. And this can only happen if we were to adopt the principles: we conserve water, we efficiently use water, we prevent pollution, we can recycle and reuse water, we can protect our ecosystem because water comes from there. We can ensure that we have equitable access to water. We can have integrated water management plans and frameworks that will help us. And this can easily really happen through building sustainable water partnerships. Good people, allow me to stop there. I encourage you to continue to share, to like, and to follow me for many more engaging discussions around climate, communication, development, and natural resources. Thank you so much. I am Professor Oriaso Odongo, and my channel is Professor Oriaso Odongo's Knowledge Hub. Welcome.